Hey guys. So today we are talking about um, three things to do if you want to be financially free. Yesterday we talked about the first thing, which was to take responsibility. Today we're going to talk about the second thing, which is to be intentional. All right. So before we get started, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe and the bell button to get notified when I go live. If you're not watching this on the YouTube, when you're done, if you like what you hear, hop over to YouTube and look me up, Linda Mae Myers, and subscribe and hit the bell. So why do you want to subscribe and hit the bell and know when I'm going live? As a financial coach, my mission is to help families live a life that God created them to live. One not full of stress and shame and guilt, all around, and fear all around money, but one of freedom, free to give more, do more, and serve more. So back to today's topic. So this week we're talking about the three things to do if you want to be financially free. Like I mentioned yesterday, we talked about being or taking responsibility, right? If you didn't get that, I'll put the link in the comments below so you get the first part of the series. Today, we're going to talk about being intentional. So, and you'll see that kind of as we go through these three, they do overlap, they do tie together because it's all part of what we need to be and who we need to become if we want to live the life that God created us to live, right? All right. So to be intentional, like, do you guys remember when it wasn't that long ago, really, when like it was all the rage to create like a word, like your word for the year, or to set the, people had like a set of bracelets or a ring or a necklace that would have that word on it. Well, I remember I determined that my word for that year would be intentional. I wanted to be more intentional with my life. Now, I'm not just talking about finances here or money, but I wanted to be intentional with my relationships with my family. I wanted to be intentional about staying organized. I want to be intentional about having fun and just stepping out of what we're comfortable doing and experiencing new things. I want to be intentional about traveling more. So intentional goes across all of these realms. And when I started financial coaching, it didn't take me long to realize that it's not just about money, right? It's about balancing all the areas of our life, and money is just an important factor that affects all the other areas of our life, right? So when you're intentional, when you're being intentional about your health or about your relationships or about your finances, they do all interact with each other, do intersect, right? So we need to make choices daily, consistently, and honestly, like that could have been another word that I could have chosen for today instead of intentional, was consistently, because those two also go together. So we need to make choices intentionally and consistently daily that will get us closer to where we want to go, right? Whether that is connecting with our children, whether it's taking time out to be with our spouse, whether it's taking time to record the money we spend or create a budget. It's just being intentional in all those areas. So when we're talking about finances, a daily choice could be choosing to spend less, choosing to save for a purchase instead of putting it on a credit card, choosing to create a budget, choosing to set up a savings account or create a debt snowball. All these things are choices that we make with the intentionality of getting where we want to go. We get to decide how we go through life. I know yesterday we ended with a thought of we don't control our past, it's already gone, right? And we don't control our future, God's got that. But we do have a choice and control the choices we make each day, right? We get to decide day by day how we go through life. So we get to be intentional, or we get to just let it happen to us, right? And if you're just going to let it happen to you, remember what we said yesterday, you have to take responsibility for that because that was a choice that you made. So there is, I don't know if you're familiar with the ULA guys. I love them. I was introduced to ULA guys a few years back through Young Living. And Dr. Troy has this story that he tells. And I love this illustration of the marble, right? He talks about how at his house, he talks about the average lifespan of a guy or a girl and how many marbles that is, right? And I think, I can't remember the exact number, but I think for a guy, it's like 72 or something like that. So he takes 72 marbles and he puts all the years past. So like, for instance, if you are 40, you'd put 40 marbles in one jar and all the other marbles in the next jar, except for one. So what you have here is you have the marbles past, the marbles in the future, and then you have the today. And he keeps that marble in his pocket and carries it with him as a reminder to be intentional. And what that does for him is every year on his birthday, when he takes one out of the future and moves it over to the past, it lets him be more aware of his time, the fragility of life, Because, we're not going to presume that that's going to be 100% accurate. We know only God knows the number of our days, right? But it's an illustration. It's a practice to be more intentional about what you do each day. And I just love that. I recently taught at a ladies retreat, and I handed out marbles to all the ladies using that illustration from Dr. Troy, because I just love it. I love the object lesson there. And I love the fact that it applies to every single one of us, right? So tomorrow, we're going to talk about the third way, or the third thing that you want to do if you want to be financially free. So just to recap, number one was taking responsibility. Two was being intentional. And number three is coming tomorrow. So if you're on Facebook and you haven't already, make sure you jump into my free Facebook community called Faithful and Financially Free Families. I'd love to have you there. We are having a workshop coming up the end of this month on building a emergency binder. So if that's not something that you already have in your family, if that's not something you know what it is. If you don't know emergency binders, send me a link, send me a comment, and I'll explain that to you. I'm kind of curious to see how many people out there actually have an emergency binder, who even knows what one is. But I know it's an overwhelming task that often gets put aside and put off until it's crap. I wish I had done that, right? So we have a workshop coming up. It's a free workshop, and will be a checklist coming out probably next week about what needs to go in the binder, and the workshop at the end of the month. I believe it's Saturday, October 30th at 10 a.m. It will be recorded if you can't make it live, but make sure you jump in that Facebook group and get all the details. So it's Faithful and Financially Free Families, and I will talk to you guys later.